where I worked first in product and now marketing. And it's in between here, I met Martin. We were gigging together on Sketch plugins, and it was fun years. We actually attending meetups and so on. Then we got kids and all that. Yeah, so that's me in a very super short shell.
Yeah, so do it as quickly.
Yeah,
we're both foreigners, we're both immigrants. I'm from Iceland, so I started my career in East Iceland just holding my life skills. Went to Reykjavik like every young Icelandic kid to study further. I was good at math and sports, so obviously I went into art school. Then I moved to Zurich to try out live. It was awesome. Small startup, a lot of beer. Moved to Copenhagen 15 years ago. Went to Danmarks Design School for a master's because I just had a kid that I can slack a little bit. And then I've been working at the same company actually for 12 years.
Ooh.
So let's leave it at that.
Right. You take 2 each of this?
Sure. We have maybe a heritage of being a creative agency, but now it's about solving problems. We solve problems for other people, other companies. So I think that the world has changed a little bit, and definitely our way of thinking.
In a nutshell, right? So let's go into our. Today's about management. I'm super interested in product design. It's actually what I normally talk to people about. Today's about management or leadership or running a team and so on. It's a new topic. We're a little shaky on that. Let's see if we deliver. But we thought it was due to explain why we got into management, right? Why you got ahead of a team and why do you want to do this thing? And I'm gonna go first. Then he goes. But for me, I spent I think it was 8 years working at my desk, and what I noticed in my experience is that I've always worked in the agencies or companies, never on the client side. So I don't know how it is on the other side, but I guess it's pretty much similar. There's always some sort of process of convincing somebody to do something. So a pitch, then you establish a budget, or more or less happen that time. When you have a budget, you can scope some activities. Once you scope some activities, you can staff a team. When you have a staff team, you can book it because it's already staffed. Once it's booked, your boss is going to sort of come to you with a true version of what the project has been, and then it's going to arrive to you, right? That's roughly how it works. Yes? No? Yeah, that's it. That's how it goes. And for many, many years, 7, 8. so that's many. I really experienced this. It has always been like that, and but for those many, many years, I never really cared because I thought, doesn't matter. I'm gonna be so good that I'm gonna know my stuff so well that it doesn't matter. I'm gonna make this great. And back to the years with Martin, I worked a lot. I was one of these UI dudes, knowing all the latest developments on Sketch, installing plugins, writing articles, getting readers. Adobe wanted to run out of a small plugin we did back then when all the version control wasn't existing. So it was super cool. I was really hyped. I got a job, I think, for that as well because it was cool. I went talking about it. But no matter how good you are, and I'm sorry to break this to you guys, until you sit this far down, the chances to improve the quality of a project don't increase. So I quickly figured that I have to climb my way up to that goddamn handshake that establishes a project, right? Back to imperfect dynamics that don't follow the books, what Ernest was saying. Reality is most projects happen as we were in school together with that dude. I know a guy who knows a guy. And project starts like that. We're going to make a website there, and then comes down to something else, and it's too late. So I told myself, I'm going to have to become a manager. So this is what I still do, and this is why I'm still doing it, is chasing the good project. Good evening. So yeah, I think that's why I'm a manager. I don't have people goals or running armies. For me, it's really getting to the source and having the chance to scope and set the project in the right way so we can deliver on good stuff. And if it takes on having dinners and drinking booze with a client and making, I'll do it. And whatever. Of course, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah,
You go.
sure. Completely different story. Maybe less interesting or more interesting, I don't know. But being an old man, same company for 12 years, playing the waiting game. Okay, yeah, sorry. Being the good soldier, just waiting in line. Maybe it sounds sad, but it's not, because when I started, we were 45. Now we're 700. So it's not like I've been at the same company so long. So there's always been a journey. There's always been growing, different challenges. So it was really a kind of a matter of please, thinking for oneself. Do I have some personal ambitions of conquering the world, or am I actually a part of something that is really, really great? And sure, over a period of time, I thought maybe I should see the scenery, but also this is a great place to work. So basically, when the call came, I thought, yeah, this I have to do, because this is definitely the next challenge. This is obviously a great opportunity. So for me, it was maybe not the aspiration necessarily to become a manager, but it was a really natural opportunity when it arose like three years ago.
It'd be cool to hear what you think. What is your motivations at some point, or just reflect about it, because it's actually, we have to look a little back. Why did I have that? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You're on.
The world has changed so much. Once upon a time, yeah, that's and I think we all been working in a creative industry, or at least a lot of us. But I think this quote actually sums it up a little bit, because we are not what do you call it? We're not the same. It's not about our own ego. We are not satisfying our own creative ambitions. We are solving problems for somebody else. It's somebody else's product. So we have to take our ego out of the equation. And that being said, working in product development, things have become so complicated. We're not doing a poster with an ad. Maybe you never did, but the age of the unicorns has kind of come to an end. We have people that kind of do it all. They could do the graphic, they could do the coding, launch it, and one-man army. Today, it takes an army. It takes a village to launch a product. It takes a lot of UX designers, a lot of visual designers. It takes a lot of developers, product managers. So it's not this one-man band anymore. And 2 years ago, actually, almost three. We were 8 designers, big company, successful company, great heritage, smaller team, 2 nationalities. But it just has taken off when the world has changed. Our focus has changed in what we're working with. So today we have almost 20 designers. The last one is getting in. We have 10 nationalities, which I think is so awesome, because it brings diversity, it brings different perspectives. Our kind of protected Scandinavian bubble is beautiful, but maybe it needs a little bit of perspective sometimes.
It's like the immigration office when you arrive at the New York airport. It's like everybody is shouting. It's like that. It's nice.
So we have a huge team, and it's such a joy to have this have an opportunity to help people grow and try to scale in a natural way. And it's where just to go fast, it can be difficult, but we're alive. We're alive still. Do you know this movie? It's one of my favorites. But I think we have a big group, and it's the 2 of us. And what makes it work is actually we have a young guy that is willing to try out stuff, can see the potential in actually doing things differently. Maybe doesn't know all the background of the company. I'm the company man. So he can run up front and find the new ways and be explorative, and I can be the old guy just making sure that people kind of get to where they need to go.
Yeah, right. So yeah, so the other presentation is now we have this in headlines. How we got there, right? Let's look back in the now it's almost 3 years that accumulate to get to this point. Wanted to break it down into things we've learned along the way. We're gonna break it into 3 parts. So designing the people part, designing processes and ceremonies, and also designing our reputation as a design team within a company. So let's cross the weird stuff out. It's not about teams, about people. We'll know that. You can read it in any business review article. But I wanted to level a little bit into something I experienced when I started managing, both here at Merkle, but also the experience that was before. This very moment, day one, when you're a new manager, it's a storm of feelings coming together. Because if you look at from your point of view, you knew that 1st of January you'd have become new boss of that team. You'd have probably known that for a few months. Your head is everywhere. You read all the articles. You're super pumped. You've learned so much from the past. You're ready to go. Your team instead is like having 3rd of January, first day of the year. Like they told them 1 month ago that the old boss is going, and now there's a new dude coming. So immediately there is this. What I learned at least is a giant clash of energy that goes on, right? If I have to summarize it, it almost goes like, coming with all these new ideas, and you mature along the way, but turns out your ideas are not theirs. They don't necessarily match. Actually, they hardly match. What do you think design is, and all this, product and feedback, and turns out it's not necessarily theirs. It maybe be there for a long time, and they don't think that that's how you do it.
It's not.
No, it's not. This is going to be the team of your dreams. Nah, it's not going to be your team of your dreams. It's going to be a normal team. It's going to have good things, bad things. You're going to have a chance to move it, to mold it, but it's not about you and your projection on them. This is the way we should work. This is the way they should work. Definitely might not be their favorite way of working. Now, for all of you who are mature, self-controlled, don't take things personal, and super advanced in life, Zen, this might sound completely all right to you, but for excited about design and product design, 30 years old Italian dude who lived in Denmark, this was a giant smack in the face. There was a lot of processing there, like, what? I'm so excited about all of this. I can't wait to do things and conquer things together, and then having to chill. Let's relearn everything, right? So obviously things I couldn't do, or things that we can do, is can't fire them all and rehire new motivated people. Can't get rid of them. This is a serious point. A good manager, we agreed, has to be able to work with the team you inherit. There's going to be new hires. So you gotta have a plan in place on how to deal with the ones who've been there before. Can't force them to listen, and they will follow. You can repeat it, you can say it. I can't give guarantee on the follow thing. And as a matter of fact, you can't force any type of program, initiatives, activities. It's like throwing the spaghetti on the wall. Some will stick, some will fall, right? Italian. Cookie always says the best way to lead people is to walk behind them. Like
I can't remember when I said it, but now
I heard her saying, like the old dude with the babe, and
okay.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I think in the journey of running the team, I learned this. I joined that I had some very strict views on what I thought design was, of how we should keep our Figma files, or how we should do this and how we should do that. And I call that some sort of design maturity. And I would measure everyone based on that filter. Are they on my band or they're not? If they're on my band, they're cool, they're worthy, they're talented. If they're not, man, they're a drug. And I actually learned that there's actually when I hear designers bitching about the general level of the company of the others, the first thing, instead of buying into, oh yeah, you're so right, I'm always like, has he got enough stomach? Has he got enough knowledge to actually realize that we're all in different timelines? It's not that the company is bad, it's just we're a group of people. We have life problems, we are all at different stages in our design maturity. So this design system topic, right? That now we have to forward on everything we work with. So if I'm here and I'm talking with somebody who just started dipping their toes into this in this work, I'm gonna probably talk to them just softly about system thinking, trying to move the first step together. And if it's gonna take 3 projects for them to do it, fine. It's gonna take 2 projects, but then we can move to the next one. If I'm talking to a more experienced dude, then I'm not going to talk about that stuff. I want to be talking about something that he can chew and he can work. So again, it's not really about design. It's about you dealing with humans, I think. Like having empathy is crucial in running the team. And I'm sorry if this is obvious again to some of you, but for us, discover it. Oh, fuck, I have to have empathy. But let's go back into design maturity. What is design maturity? Or just maturity? Depends, right? As we said, it's not really a designist only thing. It could apply to anything. And we thought about making a quiz. So option number 1 of what design maturity is, stick up your hands when I say so. So first one is how skilled you are. The more skilled you are, the more your design maturity. Option 2, how much people trust you. How much you are a go-to person, trust you. Question number 3, point number 3, how many years of experience you have? When are you mature, design-wise? Who's for 1? Great. Who's for? Hang on. Are you a late bloomer? Okay, you're number 1. Yes. Who's for number 2? Oh. And who's for number 3? Or the rest, I guess.
What about all 3?
Yeah.
Fair.
It's a trick question.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Maybe not.
We respectfully hear all of your answers, but we actually believe that number 2 is the correct one. At least for us, in our context. Because I'm going to explain to you why. So to explain this, we always use, we made a model. This is the first time I'm explaining it to people, so it's actually we made this model, right? We're designers, so we thought triangles work. We love triangles. So now what I want you to do is follow us in this. So on one side of the triangle, we want to place cross.
They're gone, I guess.
This is what many designers think it takes to be a super cool designer. In that bucket goes knowing everything about Figma, everything about code, everything about motion tools, everything about all that. In the other corner goes team. How nice are you with your team? How nice are you with your project team? How nice are you with your whole company? And on the other bucket goes the client. How nice are you with the client?
Does the client believe you?
And that's because of this, we've introduced the triangle of trust.
Triangle of trust.
What does that mean? Let's bring an example on dealing with your current team, right? So you have different people, you have different levels of maturity. Now, what we really love about the triangle of trust is that anyone could be positioned on it. And what we really also love is that we don't really care if you have a score of 100 in craft, but maybe you're too little on client and on team. That doesn't mean you're a great designer. That means you're a great tool dude. And for us, we can't make a one measure the only one to weight all of our team. We need to have a way to see the good in each one of our team members and leverage it. I hope this makes sense. I feel like I'm talking a lot like that. So for example, let's make an example of dealing with seniors, right? So this senior here, our triangle of trust tells us that the client likes him, because the client likes him. When you hear it from account manager and so on, they hear, yeah, client loves him. He wants him in all the meetings. He wants to join the workshops. He needs
But
to
what
be
does
there.
that mean? It means that that person is good at selling solutions, good at finding possibilities for the client, and being able to deliver solutions in a believable way and being accountable.
As far as we care, I would stretch it to as long as the client wants it. Then he could deliver croissants in the morning. I don't mind. If the client trusts him, I'm game. The client pays our salary at the end of the day. So it's important that it has a skill there. The team loves him. Is reliable, is a go-to guy, always has a smile, yes, hat, all that good stuff. And yes, he doesn't know a lot about Figma because he missed that train. And he uses it a bit rough and inspires that shit, but
Are you pointing at me?
pointing at half of my team. No, the point here is it an issue? Do we see it as an issue? No, we don't. Because I see no alarm being rang from a business perspective. Should I do a lot of work with this person? Well, I mean, not necessarily, because he's bringing the bacon home. But if I want, then I know that where I could challenge him or where I could get more out. So I want you to take roughly 5 seconds and think, how is my stats? What kind of designer am I? So I have to map myself out. It's like a video game, right? Where are your strengths? What are your less strengths? It's very important, very nice tool to self-evaluate a little. Where would you see yourself? 5. Yes. So why we really love this? First, we made it, so we love it. But second, anyone can be positioned. Anyone. I challenge you to not position this. Not anyone that doesn't fit it. It's not about tools or skills. We have to battle this a lot. We inherited a team where they thought that if you could use principles like a pro, you were a great designer. Yeah, you couldn't talk to a client. That's not a great designer. That's a great prototype. It's not about years of experience. I was 31 and I had people 10 years older than me. What am I giving them? Life advice and career suggestions? I'm nobody to do that. So we were looking for a tool where we could bring the conversation in a discussion setup where there's no age or differences of that kind that could affect the conversation. It's all about how you're working with your team, how's it going with learning tools, and how is it going with the client. So, short recap, how do we run our team? Well, you could be in agreement with us or not. I don't mind. But what we think is if you deliver on trust, if the environment, the client, the team trust you, you're good. You're going to go a long way for us. We believe in you, we support you. And we're not necessarily going to put you on top of the priority list. When you have 20 people, you got stuff from somebody. Can't pick all of them together. We're only 2. But if we want to work with that person, then we use the triangle to figure out where to pull the conversation. And obviously, if you're still learning how to deliver on trust, that's where we start working more together, right? So if you just started, of course, you have to feel your scheme. Now, last 3 things, and I'm going to give you the mic back. And I promise we are past the half, so we're almost there. Yeah. So how do we go from to, right? Grow means change. Change hurts. We said it. You have to change the way you've done something. It hurts. I can't solve that. Go to the gym. You want to become jacked. You gotta train every day a little bit, and eventually you're gonna be jacked. I hope. I don't know, but that's how it goes, right? And it's not only a gym thing. It's a sport thing. And I really love this. This was a meme or something I saw on LinkedIn, where it says that if you put in an time and effort, this is how you go at change. And this means that every day, but you can expand the paradigm to every project, or every quarter, or every year, do something differently from how you always done it. until it becomes a new habit. But on the long run, you're gonna have covered much more ground than before. As opposed to, for example, pick up on a designer because he's not doing something right, and force them too much. You're gonna get a very high effort response from a designer in a maybe week or 2 weeks span, a month span time. It's gonna perform, but it's unhuman to keep a level which is so foreign to your standard for so long. So there's going to be a drop. And then you're gonna start this whipping routine until you destroy the person. There's no way. Like, I'm constantly working outside my comfort zone. So yeah, it's lower. You know, when I was living in Africa, in my village, my shaman once told me, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that's kind of a journey together.
He was also your shaman?
Last thing, football analogies, why not? I love it. When I heard this, it was so spot on. And it made me reflect a lot in terms of how we should do training, being prepared or implement these changes. You think about football, the teams like mine that doesn't play Champions League, nothing else. We only have one game a week on Sunday. Sunday is where the whole team has to perform. From Monday until Saturday, not as people sit there and wait. They train every day. Boom, they put in the miles and the kicks and all that. So explain me why, if you are a designer, this is a presentation or a pitch or any sort of moment of touch with clients or stakeholders. Why in the between we should train? How much time? We've been talking a lot about this, what we want to do with our team, because we ended up that our team was just doing the work. We're just preparing for this, but we weren't training them enough during the rest of the time in between. And on that note,
so how do we train design? It's a little bit of a difficult question because we're doing it all day, just doing the work, putting in the hours. So hopefully gradually also getting better. When you have a deep pool of talent in all kinds of evolutionary states, it can also be hard to fit the right content to the right person because somebody might be awesome at prototyping, don't need coaching on prototyping. Maybe that person needs coaching on delivering pitches or on presenting. So we always have to kind of think of trying to tailor program to individuals. And it's, same on any level. It's about learning, it's about consolidating your knowledge and then putting it in action. And it doesn't matter if you are a veteran of 20 years or 30 years in the business or if you're a newcomer, it's the same recipe. And I don't think there is any crystal ball. There is no magical recipe. We tried a lot of stuff. We listen to our people. We try to respond. We try again. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes not. One thing that is really important, this is not our invention, I think this is a common practice, but just to keep very tight one-on-one with everyone. We do it once a month. We get our senior people actually to help out. We have a huge team, so our team leads, they help out on it. It's just about well-being. Are you okay? Giving some professional sparring as well. But then we do some what we call design power-ups because we want to evolve those programs. And just an example, we dive into all kinds of topics. It could be CRM, or it could be presentation techniques, or whatever. But one example is that we've invested quite heavily in prototyping because, yes, it's a craft skill, but it's just so valuable when we are selling to clients a solution that they can understand it visually. It's so valuable when we're delivering to developers, and it's such a great tool just to try stuff. But we had a situation where we had maybe 2 or 3 persons in the team that would do prototyping. Every time we would see an awesome website on the internet, and people would like, how do they do this? This is awesome. And how do we solve it? How do we pitch if we don't have it? Always the same people coming in, doing the legwork for presentations. We invested time in it. We broke into smaller groups to make it more manageable.
Every Friday
for I think
5 weeks.
Yeah. So it requires time for sure. But now we're at a place where I think almost every person in the team, maybe me excluded, apart from that, can actually deliver really decent quality prototypes on apps or websites or whatever. And again, it's great for delivery. It's great for presentations. And now we don't have to panic about who's available, who can program, who can animate.
It's like projects say, oh, we need a design and prototype. You can't even. Just feels so good.
Yeah. And that's about basically just raising the baseline. Yes, we are all working on our craft, we're all working on our team skills or client skills, but we also need to move our skills. A few years back, it was about Photoshop. I don't think our people can do Photoshop. Maybe I'm the only one. Again, huge team. What does that mean? We have no idea what the person next to me is doing on a daily basis. So we arranged a weekly show and tell. We came up with a logo that's pretty unique, representing lunch because we do it around lunchtime. But it's just two people having 10 minutes presentation, not about pitching, but I'm just working on this problem, maybe explaining the context, maybe getting some feedback, maybe getting some insight, but just being collectively looking at each other's stuff. And that becomes more and more difficult with scale. It's no problem when you have 3 designers, 5 designers. But 20 designers meeting in a room looking at each other's stuff is more challenging. We have a rhythm in our agenda. We try to meet everyone, or we have once a month. We have those show and tells every week. We meet the whole team talking about professional stuff. And then we have our power-ups. Then we're talking about it. So, about hiring, because we need to scale, we need more people. How do we? It's a magic formula. Okay, I'd like to play point of this. Have you seen it before? And a lot of I've seen and I experienced how do we hire designers? There's actually kind of we are privileged in a way that we actually have something that we can show people. I mean, my wife sends out a CV. Who reads a CV? So there's a craft dimension in it, obvious. But I've seen people being put to tests. You know, here's a project, solve it and come back. And if you solve it, maybe you get a job. We actually try to approach it. I mean, your portfolio, your craft is what gets you the interview. That's kind of okay. Your craft is set. That's a given. That's a baseline. That's why you're here. So in the interview, we are kind of trying to gauge those axes. How would this person be in front of a client? How would this person be in a team? Is it the right match? And I'm sorry to say, I mean, there is no magic formula. This is just pure alchemy. Sometimes it crashes. It's dark magic. We've had failures. We had plenty of success. Few of them are here. But there is no magic formula. But just trying to trust your instinct, listen to your stomach, and then you have to go with it and hire or not hire. Something like that.
Yeah. All right. Shall we cut it here, Martin? Or okay, cool. Right. The last part is I'm gonna speed up. The last part is design reputation. So we talked about the team members. So that's the core of your team. And we talked about the team in itself, how to train it, how to nurture it. Now we'd like to talk about the team within an organization. We are a design team within a big organization. So let's talk about, I think to frame that, it's about looking at the design industry. Wow, that was a long bit. Thank you. So the design industry, where we work, as we see it, splits in 2 types of businesses. At least the agency side, we could say. We say there's businesses about design, and then there is design businesses. I know it's a bit like up to interpretation, but I'm gonna explain it to you. A business about design is a company that sees in design and design-related practices a way to make business. I sell you 2 hours of UX and 5 hours of design, and we're gonna build a website. In short. Yes, it's often run by corporate dudes who study CBS and certain opportunity monetizing on design practices you'll experience, because that's the gig of digital in the last 20 years. Then you got design businesses. Design businesses are your boutiques, design-led boutiques doing exclusive work, really nice. They put design, almost indirectly, they put a design process from choosing the cover of your toilet seat in the bathroom to the whole office design, and like they put design everywhere. And of course, we love that. That's, Now the trick is, that's what I had to learn growing up, that in the business about design, it is a bit more mercenary. It's a bit more soulless. It's a bit more evil in some way. We make the big bucks. Whereas in the design businesses where you make the posters and the identity for museums and cinemas, you really express yourself, but you don't make a penny. And now, I'm a designer by trade. I'm not a fool by trade. I want to make as many money as a lawyer, but I don't want to become a lawyer. I want to become a designer that makes money like a lawyer. So for me, when I grew up and I had to make this choice, it was very obvious that I'm going to definitely sit in here, but I'm not going to forget who I am. And I'm not going to forget what my heart beats for, what I studied for, what my vocation is. And you're the same, right? Really? Yeah. So, how do you? No. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. No. The point here is that what we're trying to do at Merkle is a little bit that. Let's not lie to each other. We're definitely a business about design. We are a corp. We're global. We're powerful and all that. But what we want to do with our team is actually this. Now, you can say
No, but it is a mindset, and another of Mike's quotes. Everyone who's actually touching the product or the project in any way is a part of the design process. So it's not about having a project manager just sitting and project managing. Everyone who's touching it is a designer. And when we are in a big corporation like Merkle, even though our King of Kings wants to be, we are a creative office and all, but when we are scaling so fast, we risk of becoming the small weird kids in the basement somewhere. So therefore, it's so important to kind of instill this mindset of it's not about us, the creatives. We are part of a creative company, whether it's an IT or a developer or a project manager or a UXer. We are trying to instill a creative atmosphere. We are building a creative place to work. But it's up on us to actually carry that flag and be a little bit loud and make sure that actually people around us feel that they are part of a creative environment. And this is a really hard thing. And, we are constantly trying to push it. And I think it's going fine, but it's how do we do this? It's about being the first ones to actually post some inspiration on the internet. It's about making our office look nice, which we haven't actually succeeded in, but constantly trying to be a little bit loud, being the ones who people want to hang out with, or being the entertainers at the client meetings.
everything counts. Everything counts. Yeah. We have one last good night story for you about this topic of scaling design as a religion within an organization that forgot what design was. I brought you my first experience there. I was 30. I landed this head of design job. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to point fingers at all. But that's my experience. So I'm going to try to talk about it very mildly the way it was. I've been hired specifically with this mandate, which fascinated me a lot. We lost a bit our way. We want to reboot our design culture. And I couldn't wait for that. I had a small team. We were only 5. But I accepted it. I was young and I haven't done any of it. So I was like, fair enough. It sounds logical. And I remember 3 months in, I'm not joking you, 3 months in, I was going in every day, every meeting, every general meeting, every management meeting, every sub-work meeting. I could not hear the word design ever. The only time I would hear it was when they were saying service design. Like, what happened? I don't know what happened. I have an opinion, but it doesn't matter. They forgot a lot about what it was, what it means. The little house that I just showed. What does that entail? They were all talking about these words, and they never came up. 3 months in, I remember being like, "Whoa, damn!" So I was like, how the heck do I bring this design word into this mix? And I remember I was flipping cards and like, should we blend a great website? Should I make some, to be very good at my job? Then I'm gonna love it. But I didn't think that it was strong enough. It's a website you visit it once. It's never gonna look as good as you design it. So that's just not gonna cut it. And then one day, it was spring. I've been invited to this workshop with one of our clients, and we hosted this workshop in this room we had, which was a storage room for our desks. But UXers loved it because it had empty walls, so they could run workshops in them. They could hang things on the wall. And I participated in my workshop, and I took photos, and I couldn't believe my eyes that we were having clients paying sizable amount of money, brainstorming creative solutions, whether it's UX or design, into that space. I was like, okay, here I found something that hurts. This hurt a lot. There's opportunity. Now, at the same time, my boss, because it was spring-ish, told me, you need to start thinking where you want to spend your educational budget for the year. Designers are going to start coming asking for conferences and so on. And I thought, how much is the budget? It's about 8K. Like, okay, that's a lot of money. So I thought, okay, 8 and 5 people, that's 40,000 Danish krona altogether. And I thought, okay, I got all this cash, how can I use it? And then I was like, let me think about my background, my upbringing, right? I have a Catholic upbringing, I'm Italian. And I noticed one thing, the church always sits in the best spot of every town. Have you ever noticed that? I don't know your level of religion is, and I don't want to get into that debate. But if you pay attention, at least in Italy, but also Iceland, I pay this homage to Iceland. I've actually been here as well, but I didn't take this photo. The church always sits in the best spot. The church is the place of reference. So I had this idea, and I went to my team. I remember we had a team meeting, and I said, okay, guys, listen. These were designers that were there before. And normally they would blast their educational budget weekend in Berlin, see your fancy designer speaking about typography, showing a bunch of posters, have a date about the managing work is doing, drink the spirit, come back, spend your life the rest of the year a bit frustrated because still have to do the day to day. Or we could use that cash to build our own place. And guess what they picked? So we went to my CEO. We pitched this whole thing, how much we needed to fit our creativity. We wanted a space that had facilities, and it was bringing us away from the screen and hands-on projects. We created some guidelines. We even made some mock-ups of the space, all rough and ready in Keynote, just drawing things, what we would need, how we would need it. You can see some of the pitch. At this stage, the CEO stops me. It's like, I just don't get why you want to use the educational budget for this. And I'm like, I don't know. And then it gave me the money, and then he left my educational budget for it. So we actually went to New York and had a blast there as well. And then when we came back, we started building the space. Obviously, we had to stay extra time. It was a summer worth of work. Nobody was an office hour. This was passion and blood. And we bought things on DBA, nothing fancy. But we came together, we did it as a team. Everybody from the office chipped in, and space looked amazing. As it in comparison to how it was before, right? It didn't take a big effort, you might say. But what is important here is that from that day onwards, the first place everyone would bring a guest in the office would be this one. And this is what our design team did. Right? First thing that we did. Not, and we do user research, and we had an angle. And I finally managed to put the word design in their mouth. and it's still there. So, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you so much, guys. Very interesting. So it says here, right? But let's just have the question.
Sure.
Right?
Sorry for running so long. But
That's how we had hoped that actually we can have both talk before pizza.
You saved me because I'm going to talk for a long time.
Yeah. So we're gonna lock the doors, right? You're not gonna get out of here until you hear the next talk. That's how it is. Sorry, guys. Same thing. And we're filming you as well. Crazy experience. No, but any questions?
Yeah, so you say client a lot, and not everyone is a design consultancy. So do you have clients facing users or something else?
in what context?
In the triangle of trust, you have client, team, and the client, but we don't have.
Clients yet? Or
No, we don't. We have this building a product. We're selling the product as a subscription. We have users. We don't have clients like a consultancy.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
We don't put the science product like client.
No, but you have to sell some idea to someone. That's the point.
I guess it's stakeholder.
Stakeholder.
There's always somebody that controls the money, that controls.
In exchange of your work.
I have a question though. I think it's a luxury, to do a solution and then you go off to the next project, right? So you don't have to necessarily, not always, maybe sometimes, not always have to think about the longevity of the product you're designing, right? So that means then the client is the most important thing. Because once you're done, it's on to the next one. But what about like internal projects, like design systems, where you have to, or do you have to think about that in a different way?
We don't treat any client on this. Let's use it and toss it. If anything, we do a lot of work to set these long-term visions, and I think it's more like they, I guess than you, but they double down on making sure that goes long-term. There's always a long-term game to it. Almost too much. I would say we spend much more time on reminding the.
How would you go about it if it's an internal project? Like a
What do
design
you mean
system.
internal?
If you have a design system that you reuse from client to client, across clients.
No, because it's so custom to what the client needs. So some clients have some very rudimental setup, some clients have more advanced.
Okay.
So based on that, we scale up and down.
We have huge clients that have no idea what a design system is.
Yeah.
We have small item clients that only want the design system. So I think that's one of the things that has changed so much in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Now what in the design system.
I saw 2 days ago the one Volvo has. They share it with us. I almost wanted to ask them, why do you need us? It's perfect.
Do you see any cases where they would, change the priority of the triangle? Can you imagine a case where you think about it differently?
No, because the triangle goes into the full sum of it.
Yeah.
So it's not an exact science, obviously, right? But for us, as long as the total of the 3 makes it to the cut, then we don't care if you have. I mean, people care, but if you have 200,000 potentially, you have enough trust most likely because everybody, if you have it on client, nobody's gonna touch you because they're super loved by the client.
I'm curious to hear if you sometimes, either through your client or directly, if you get any feedback or if you have any other kinds of interactions with the clients of your clients. So say the person who Sue is your client, but the Sue will have visitors that experience what you're essentially building for Sue as your client.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a feedback loop there? And do you work with your clients on a recurring basis? So you build something for them and launch it, then they come back an amount of time later and want to repeat that work or iterate on it, where that kind of feedback comes in? Is that something that you experience?
That's definitely something that we try. And as I said before, we have so many clients that have a very long-standing relationship because the solutions we build are complicated, and then they have to be maintained, they have to be polished, they have to be reinvented. But it's so often up to the client how much user interviews or analysis they want to do. Some, luckily, are really into it, and we applaud it. we like. I mean, that's the most valuable insight. But we also have clients, we don't like, it's too expensive, too time consuming, and then fine. I mean, that's your money, but we would highly encourage it. But we have such a wide variety of clients that it's sometimes it's difficult because it's very, very nerdy B2B, some niche business. Okay, we don't have competent people to test it on. Yes, of course you can find it, but maybe they don't want to invest in it. So yes, we encourage it always, but they don't always buy it.
Yeah, I mean, we're setting the scene. You said you wanted to get management, so you have first-hand like understanding of the client needs, the timeline with the movies and the that's right.
Yeah.
And then, okay, good job. You saved yourself, but like, what do you do to save your team from
Great question.
I'm definitely carrying the cross. Like I'm doing it for my team, right? And
but do they have like first-hand understanding, or are they closer to the client now than how you were before?
yeah, I mean, I think I bring a lot of the. I feel at least I'm like a union, a labor representative when I attend those meetings, right? I always call some bullshit up that they make, and I'm like, we got more time, or we cannot do that. That's the best I can do to deliver the good project. So I feel I'm bringing the pains I've experienced on my skin a lot up to them, and I negotiate at that level. It's the best, as in it's what you have to do.
Gotta have ends meet somehow.
Yeah,
And that's a compromise you're facing.
yeah. I think that the catch with it of climbing the ladder that I didn't consider when I made that decision is that I had to manage people, and that has nothing to do with design, like not at all. I had to go back to just Brad Frost, the atomic design dude. The design process is weird and complicated because it involves people who are weird and complicated. He says that so right. That just makes sense. Matt?
Yeah, I actually have a question around the maybe also that triangle.
Okay.
How do you use it actually? Because you had an example of a senior, you had a junior, and I can't remember the last one, but then it's also talks a little bit into a career kind of approach, like a rating role. Where do you split up between people management and action tracking? So you go at an individual tracking level.
I think you always have to craft a very individual plan to each and every one, because you can't make them into us because we're all individuals. So I think we have them in our either it's one-on-ones or some career interviews that we also have, and we're just honest about how's it going, what are your ambitions, what do you think you can bring to the table, other things that we have to work on. And it's obvious, I mean, when managing people that are older than we are, I mean, it's not about life lessons, but maybe that person could be stronger in selling and being a partner to the project management or account people. And I think that's a big part of our job of being a designer, is being able to sell and help finding projects. But on the other hand, it's also, looking after a team.
Yeah, I think when you go that big of a team, if you're very short, you can try to work on guidelines how to work the same way. When you go so big, you just don't have material time to enforce the way to work. You gotta trust and measure on other parameters. So we abandon all of that, and we purely listen to how the person performs. If they deliver and trust, we trust them to do a good job. And if they don't know something,
I think we've got time for one last question, right? And then it's pizza. Yeah, just one. Sorry.
Yeah, that would be the second one. Like,
So I think it's one observation I have. I think it's great that you guys have two team leads that really collaborate with each other, because sometimes you're alone, like without, and this kind of, you can ask your boss, whatever, right? It's easier for you, I guess, to change views and really be vulnerable and also being secure in a safe space.
best thing we can have is each other, for sure. I mean,
So there
Right?
was not.
It's no, yeah, but it is very valuable because we also experience, because we have a huge UX department, we have copyright. So actually having those people who are managing those groups, we need to meet and vent and complain or congratulate, or because even though we want to be a part of our team, we are, there is still some kind of business. It has to be a professional business. And that's kind of it's a sensitive balance with no magic formula.
I think there are so many things in your talk that's quite interesting and can be used, whether it's a consultancy or product or company or whatever. I think you gave a really, really honest view into both how you manage any troubles along your struggles along the way, but also one of the most honest views on how a consultancy is done. And I think that's actually quite interesting. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to prepare.
Thank
It was really, really good. Thank you.